This segment of the Chopin podcast is brought to you by the Chopin Foundation of the United States, dedicated to promoting young American pianists and making Chopin's music accessible to all. If you read Chopin's early letters, you'll find that he refers multiple times to dancing the mazurka, a reminder that what would become his most high-minded and enigmatic genre began as a very down-to-earth social activity. For most pianists outside of Poland, our knowledge of the genre is almost entirely filtered through Chopin's artfully composed mazurkas for piano. But to grasp the spirit of Chopin's mazurkas, it helps to understand the larger tradition they're a part of. And so it is my great privilege to introduce Polish musician Janusz Prusinowski, who is dedicated to carrying forward the living tradition of the mazurka and other folk musics of his home country. In our conversation, Janusz sheds light on the origins of mazurking and its different styles, including the kinds of mazurkas Chopin was exposed to when he was growing up, that might have inspired him to compose 60-some-odd of his own throughout his lifetime. The interview is punctuated with Janusz's own demonstrations on his fiddle and accordion, as well as his own voice.
Serce moje serce ukoić się nie chce, tylko się tak burzy jak woda w konewce.
Although principally known as a dance, Janusz shows how the most characteristic features of the mazurka are indelibly tied to the sung rhythms of the Polish language and the interaction with other members of the band, as exemplified in the Janusz Prusinowski Kompania.
What's the origin of the name Mazurka or Mazurek? And the origin is very Polish because this is the name Mazur. This is the name for people from central Poland, from Mazovia region. Those ones who were born there were called Mazury. So Mazury are coming, Mazury are playing. It's so organic. So simple, so organic. People, region, and their music was called with the same way. Mazurek, Mazur. And Chopin's Mazurkas, belong to a bigger family of Mazurek, in my opinion. It means when he was young, when he was a boy, he listened to his mom singing, who was born in Kujawy region, so in a region of Mazurek music, broadly saying. When he was when he was a teenager, he used to spend holidays at the village, his friends. Village music was surrounding him, and he was not like other, let's say, people born in more noble families. He was really interested in folk music, in the folk, in people. I remember one of his letters he wrote when he experienced his holidays in a village, in Szafarnia village. It was description of meeting with folk singers and folk fiddler. He even described his music, his improvisations, and he spent hours playing the bass instrument, basetla, on one string. He used to doodle. I was doodling with him with great fun. And I think that in general, in those years, Poland was full of music, full of various melodies, sung, danced, played, both in villages, at peasant houses, and in noble houses. Because those times there was like, if anybody could play, anybody could sing, it meant music, no other way. And that is the country of his youth, that he was longing, the rest of his life from France, from his travels, composing melodies that remind him and the listeners the country they had to live.
Do we have scholarly knowledge of that lineage tradition going back that far so that we might be able to say, well, he probably heard something like this or something like that?
Even more, because this village tradition is living tradition. I personally met many singers, many fiddlers, many people just continuing the way of playing, way of singing, way of dancing they have learned in their childhood. The oldest musicians I met were born in 19th century still. My personal father was born 1920, so my grandparents were born 1870 something. It's not so far in memory, and this is what I'm most fascinated most in, that this language, this musical way of expressing, way of communicating, way of moving has been continuously brought, transferred to our times, and we have still have the opportunity, the possibility to touch it, to learn it, to meet these people, to play with them, to learn directly from them, not using notes.
Tam, gdzie słoneńko wschodzi, młody Jasieńko chodzi w rączkach, czapeczkę nosi, swego tateńka prosi.
As I found village music, notes are useless to describe it, because these rhythms, these phrases are so specific, so different from philosophy of notes, so uneven but regular, so shifted but regular, so as natural as the rhythm of language. It is so near, and they are even rooted in melodies. But basically, the Mazurek are melodies first sung, then answered, played by the musician, then transformed, then improvised, then treated as topic, as a theme in jazz music or whatever.
Zagraj mi muzyko, a niech ci struny wiuczą, a niech się warszawianki da tańcować nauczą.
So would you say mazurkas in that sense are sung before they're danced? Is it a singing tradition before a kind of movement?
So even when I play this melody without words, I have the words in my head. Even when people sing, they think, oh, the fiddle is talking, is talking the words, and the same rules that construct the grammar of language, which is very funny. Polish is a very special language, full of improvisation, full of unexpected movements, because it's so it is like this, full of melodies inside. When I have this in my head, it talks itself, it develops itself. And of course there are, and they always were and have been, and they still are, masters who create from that their own style of music. So coming back to Chopin, I recognize lots of musical lines, melodies that could be found in Chopin's compositions that are still played or transformed or very similar in village mazurkas, in village recordings, in village at village dances.
Are there certain folk songs in this tradition that are so famous that they have been more or less, even if transformed, still recognizable as, oh, it's that song with those words from 200 years ago? Or is it always that the musicians are inventing new songs and new variations? And you said you have the words in your head. Are there any songs that you know that Chopin would have also known, more or less, that were in this folk idiom?
This is something that we are still working on, because many of them have, during these 200 years, have transformed a lot. Professor Tomaszewski, who was one of the greatest specialists at Chopin music, he recognized so many melodies that used to be popular 200 years ago, but were not recognized even 100 years later, or 150 years later. Perhaps listen, because almost each melody I play on the fiddle, when it is transferred on the piano, sounds like Chopin. It is so special feeling. You play something that sounds strange, then you move it on keys, add some harmony, and then it starts to sound like Chopin. For example, this one.
So how would you describe that tune? How much of it is you? How much of it is part of the tradition?
95% of tradition, 5% of Janusz Prusinowski. So these were two melodies from Łowicz region. First one could be sing: Jak jechałem z Ozorkowa, rozbolała konia głowa, a ja konia kładę w rowie, sam się bawię w Ozorkowie. Oj dana, oj da dana, da dana, da dana, taj dana, oj da dana, ta da dana i da dana. Ożenił się i nie wiedział, że z kobito będzie siedział, a trza było o tym wiedzieć, że z kobito to trza siedzieć. Oj dana, oj ta dana, daj dana, da dia dana, oj dana i tia dana, a da dana, dia dana. Then you have this played, then it comes rhythm, which is never like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, regular like this. There are long phrases, long accents. It is very delicate, sophisticated construction, how all that works and moves human body to dance, to turn, to have pleasure of this.
Mój Boże kochany, a czy Cię nie ma w niebie? Czy te moje prośby, a nie dochodzą Ciebie?
When we experiment with playing Chopin's Mazurkas for the dance, it works. It is also his experience. He described, I was playing some evening and we were dancing. he danced himself too.
You're the leader of the Janusz Prusinowski Campania. And so with your band, if you play a melody, you might have one of your bandmates answer that. And you have a dialogue, or you actually joke with each other musically. And that's just part of the tradition. That's part of the fun of it.
Exactly. This is the music about. Sometimes it's joking, sometimes it's serious, sometimes there's full possibility of emotions and stories that could be expressed. It is the possibilities of this music are really huge, of transforming, improvising and connecting together.
Dałabym ci buzi, a żebyś nie powiedział.
And I certainly hear lots of dialogue across Chopin's music, but especially in the mazurkas, it's not just a theme and accompaniment. There's often polyphony, but also a call and response effects, sometimes choruses, sometimes solo voices. Two-part question here. You mentioned rhythm. Nothing is ever just a obvious 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When I'm growing up learning Chopin mazurkas, the stereotype is that emphasis is often towards the second beat. This is what you hear. Could you comment on that? And what kinds of scales are you using when you're working around these rhythmic patterns?
Definitely, there is a tendency to accent more second step of the dance, of turning. It even happens when you start dancing. That might be great experiment, a great experience for the pianist to dance, to try to experience this through body, through connection with the partner. And why this too is so important in dance, because it is also important in the language, in accentation of Polish language. Our regular accent of Polish language is on the second syllable from the end, the syllable before the last one. Warszawa, Chopin, kompozycja. So if we have 3 syllables, we will have like Warszawa, Warszawa. The second will be stronger. Fryderyk. Also, when we have 4 syllables and we wish to put them in this 3-step rhythm takt, we will have quite often, we will get, and Chopin use that a lot, 4 notes in 3, quite regular or not regular. Quadrola. Ratata radia dada, ratata radia dada, tadra dada tadana, raida dada tadana. This is how we talk. This is how people in the village sing. This creates this music at the start as a polyphonic one for me. This village music, because it always happened like this, and everything could be shifted a lot. At the same time, keeping the regular base of movement, like we should move regularly, but the shifts help us make the music interesting, make this dance interesting. So we have both language, then longer words, longer expressions could be put in this rhythm, not changing it. Ta 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 radia ta da ta da dana ta da dana tai ta ta na ta ta da da ram da da ni tai da di ta radam da ram ta da da di tai ra da radam da dam a ta da tai da radam da dam ai da ta da tam ba radam da ram a ta da na ram da na tai da dam. Ram taga da da ram tam tara ram taga da ga ram tam tara. I was singing Oberek from Piotr Gaca, one of my masters. That's first melody that jumped into my mind.
And you've mentioned now the Oberek and also a Kujawiak. And as we're taught when we read our books about mazurkas, those are two of the three, I guess, folk idioms that are found in at least Chopin mazurkas, maybe mazurka playing more generally. The other is the sort of moderate mazur. Is that also your understanding? Is that how you conceive of the mazurka sort of sound world, folk world in general? Is it has these three sort of sources and they combine or interrelate? Are there other ones? Could you talk about those, what we call the three types of mazurkas?
In the country, there are many local names for mazurkas, let's say, for this kind of dances. Some are created because from the name of the fiddler, some from the name of the village, some from the name of the river, from the other side of the river. Some of the function, for example, played on the way to the church whilst wedding. There would be the way obereks or way mazureks or the road mazureks. Nevertheless, there are in general the kujawiaks are the slowest ones. They are played in northwest part of the central Poland, Kujawy region, western Mazovia, northern also. The fastest, sometimes composed, you can see composed on the fiddle, on an instrument, are sometimes unable to be sung, surely instrumental obereks, very quick. And in the middle, mazureks that could be that have this singing vocal origins, and the names could interfere, changed. Sometimes people even make strong discussions. Is it oberek or mazurek? We used to call it oberek. Oh no, it's not.
May I play a little bit of one mazurka from Chopin, and I would love to get your reaction. Tell me what you hear. Opus 6, number 2 in C sharp minor.
This one, in my categories, belongs to kujawiak style, where even when we play bassetla, the bigger instrument, bass instrument, we play exactly in that way. It's like and these melodies played as kujawiaks used to be both, or are both minor type more or major type, and this minor are quite many. Absolutely, it could be played on fiddle with bassetla, with bass instrument, and perhaps little drum, and could be played as kujawiak.
Now, I know you have a kind of Polish accordion instrument with you.
Yeah.
Could you pick that up and demonstrate some sounds that we might hear from the Janusz Prusinowski Campagna or anything within this mazurka tradition? And how old is this instrument? And is this something Chopin would have known or heard as well?
The harmonia polska, Polish accordion, came to the village 100 years after Chopin. It was like 20th century instrument, first before the Second World War. This one is not very old. It's like 85 years old. I have older ones, smaller ones. This instrument, when it was constructed and came to the village made revolutions because it was stronger, became more important than fiddle, could play longer and play also left hand with bassi. But all the melodies were transformed, were translated into accordion. Of course, some microtones played on fiddle or sung couldn't be played on this instrument. Anyway, it still could keep the style and became very popular in villages. People really, really liked it. And thanks to these two hands, could suggest the piano a bit. Serce moje serce ukoić się nie chce, tylko się tak burzy jak woda w konewce.
Stoi dąb nad wodą, gałęzie się chwieją, do ładnej dziewczyny oczy mi się śmieją. Lele. Aj lelele, aj dedene, dedegedene, aj dedegene, dedegedene.
This is a melody from Kujawy region, from near from Łowicz, which I transformed a bit to sing this text, Serce moje serce, which is also rooted in village. In many places I've heard these couplets, but separated. I connected them together, creating sort of a song. My heart, kind find peace, and moves like water in a bucket. And the story starts.
My heart can't find peace. That sounds like it could be the words to about 90% of Chopin's music. To the extent that you can perceive something like a common Polish spirit, do you find it embodied in this music, and could you articulate what that is exactly?
For me, this Polish spirit in music is the unity of words, of the freedom of language, the rules of language that turn into poetry, that turn into playing with words that could be transformed into melodies, into music, into rhythms, and at the same time that could move the body moving. For me, this is kind of unity of the words, of the melodies, of the band, and of the dancers. And if this could be felt in any of these parts, both in music, in dance, in words itself, it means it is part of this Polish spirit. And there are so many melodies that are known, that belong to this, let's say, reservoir of Polishness, of understanding Polish, that is also recognized. It's sort of longing and at the same time of belonging.
Leciały żurawie, krzyczały mój Boże, kalina z jaworem rozstać się nie może. Aj lelele, aj dedene, dedegedene, dedegene, dedegedene. Oj, lądem, dziewczę, lądem, ja za tobą wodą. Jeśli mnie pokochasz, ożenię się z tobą. Aj lelele, aj dedene, dedegedene, dedegede, dedegene, dedegedene. Serce na dwoje się dzieli, jedna strona płacze, druga się weseli. Aj lelele, aj dedene, dedegedene, dedegene, dedegedene.
If you enjoyed this video, consider joining my Patreon, where paying members have access to bonus scenes from my conversation with Janusz Prusinowski and other guest interviews from this episode.